The gymnasium of Willow Creek Elementary glowed with warm Christmas lights, the kind that flickered slightly as though the building itself were breathing in holiday magic. Colorful handmade garlands hung crookedly along the walls, crafted from the tiny hands of 7-year-olds who had proudly glued cotton balls onto green construction paper trees. The air hummed with excitement, sugar, and the metallic sound of folding chairs scraping the floor. I sat in the third row, heart swelling with pride as I watched Noah on stage, his red knit sweater, *, the one I had poured hours into stitching *, slightly oversized on his small frame. But he didn't care. He tugged at the sleeves nervously, then looked toward the audience until his eyes found mine. His smile widened, bright enough to outshine the cheap overhead bulbs. My little boy, my whole world. The music started, a piano version of Silent Night, and the kids began to sway, singing off key, but with such sincerity that several parents wiped their eyes. I felt my throat tighten. After the divorce, after months of legal documents, therapy sessions, whispered questions from neighbors, and nights where Noah woke up crying because Daddy wasn't home anymore, I had promised myself I would do everything to give him childhood memories untouched by adult chaos. Tonight felt like the reward, perfect, simple, pure. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe. I took a sip of my hot chocolate, wincing at its artificial sweetness, and snapped a few photos of Noah performing. His voice was soft, nervous, but he sang. That alone was a victory. Around me, parents whispered, "He's grown so much this year. Your sweater is adorable. Did you knit it yourself?" You must be so proud. I was. I truly was. And then my phone vibrated, a sharp buzz, breaking through the fragile bubble of peace, like a stone thrown into a still lake. I frowned and glanced down, **, unknown number. **, for a moment I considered ignoring it. Everyone knew I was here. Noah's teachers, my coworkers, my mother. Anyone who needed me would text or call again. But something in my gut tugged at me, a faint pull of unease. I slid my thumb across the screen. "Hello," I whispered, leaning back so my voice wouldn't echo in the quiet room. A frantic voice answered immediately, breathless and urgent. **, come home immediately. **, I blinked, startled. I'm sorry, who is this? It doesn't matter right now. The voice snapped, not angry, terrified. Just hurry, please. Come home, now, My heart skipped. Every maternal instinct inside me jolted awake. Is something wrong with my son? I whispered harshly, standing up so quickly my chair screeched across the floor. No, the voice said quickly. No, as safe. But you need to come home. You're in danger if you don't. The breath left my lungs. What do you mean, who are you? Just go. The voice insisted. You don't have time. The call disconnected. I stood frozen, the phone shaking in my hand. What kind of call was that? A prank? A scam? No. The fear in that voice wasn't faked. Something was wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. I looked back toward the stage where the children were finishing their performance. Noah clapped along with his classmates, oblivious to anything except the lights and music and excitement. I didn't want to leave. Everything in me screamed to run to my son instead, but I remembered the tone in the caller's voice, panic laced with urgency, like someone running out of time. I stepped onto the aisle. A teacher noticed me moving and whispered, "Is everything okay?" I forced a tight smile. "Family emergency. I'll be right back for Noah." And then I hurried out of the gym, each step heavier than the last. Cold winter air hit me as I pushed through the school doors. I all but ran to my car, my thoughts racing. Who called me? Why my home? What danger? I started the engine, my hands trembling around the steering wheel. As I drove, Christmas lights blurred past greens and reds and golds, smearing into streaks through my anxious tears. My house was only 10 minutes away, but each minute felt like an hour, squeezing my chest tighter and tighter. Halfway there, a single horrifying thought struck me. What if someone had broken in? What if someone was waiting for me? I pressed harder on the gas pedal. The road twisted through familiar neighborhoods, but everything felt foreign, wrong. A world out of place. When I turned into my street, my breath caught in my throat. My front door, usually locked secure, waiting for me with the comfort of home, was standing wide open. Lights were on, shadows moved inside. My heart pounded so violently I felt dizzy. I pulled into the driveway, staring at my home in disbelief, terror crawling up my spine like ice water. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't an accident. Something was happening inside. Something that made a stranger call me and tell me to run home. I stepped out of the car on shaking legs. "Hello." I called out, my voice small, trembling. I took one step toward the open doorway, and a loud crash erupted from inside. That's when I knew this night, this Christmas, this life I'd tried so hard to rebuild, was about to shatter. Forever, I froze at the threshold of my own home, the cold winter air at my back, and an unfamiliar darkness stretching in front of me. My Christmas wreath dangled crookedly on the doorframe, as if someone had torn it halfway off. A trail of muddy footprints stained the hardwood floor, footprints I didn't recognize. Another crash echoed from the living room. My instinct screamed at me. Asterisk leave, call the police, run. Asterisk, but the voice from the phone kept replaying in my mind. Asterisk, you don't have time. Asterisk, asterisk, you're in danger if you don't. Asterisk, I tightened my grip on my keys and stepped inside. Who's in here? I shouted, though my voice trembled violently. Silence answered, then a whisper, a shuffle, a muffled argument. I moved toward the living room, my breath shallow, my heart hammering so loudly I could hear it over the ringing in my ears. When I turned the corner, everything inside me shattered. Standing in the middle of my ransacked living room were asterisk asterisk, three people asterisk asterisk, who should never, ever have been together in my house, much less tearing it apart. There was asterisk asterisk, Mark asterisk asterisk, my ex-husband, his hair disheveled, face flushed with stress or guilt, or both. Next to him stood asterisk asterisk, Amber asterisk asterisk, my best friend since college, wearing her trademark red lipstick and that infuriating smirk she used whenever she was caught doing something she shouldn't. Except this time, she didn't even bother to hide the smirk, and near the sofa, rifling through a drawer he had pulled onto the floor, was asterisk asterisk, Dylan asterisk asterisk. My boyfriend, the man I had trusted enough to let back into my life, the man who had promised to protect Noah and me. He didn't even flinch when he saw me. For a moment, all sound seemed to disappear. The world went numb, silent, unreal. What is this?" I whispered. "Why are you here?" Amber rolled her eyes dramatically. "Well, this is awkward." Mark shot her a glare, then stepped toward me, attempting a calm he clearly didn't feel. "Elena, don't overreact. Don't overreact." My voice broke into a disbelieving laugh. "You broke into my house." "I didn't break in." Mark snapped, lifting a small silver object between his fingers, asterisk asterisk, a key asterisk asterisk. My spare house key, the one I had forgotten to demand back after our divorce. The room spun. Dylan stood up, brushing dust from his hands, his expression unreadable. "You weren't supposed to be home yet." Something twisted in my stomach, a sickening, sinking dread. "Why," I whispered, "are the three of you here together going through my things?" Amber let out a slow sigh, crossing her arms. "We're looking for something." "What?" My voice was barely a breath. "Evidence," she said casually, as if the word meant nothing. My skin turned cold. "Evidence for what?" Mark stepped forward. "Elena, we're filing for full custody of Noah." The air was sucked out of the room. My knees went weak. "No," I whispered. "No, you. You can't be serious. You have no reason. You're unstable." Mark cut in quickly, voice rising defensively, as though he had prepared this speech in advance. "You work too much. You leave Noah with sitters. You've been distracted and emotional since the divorce. Emotional. Distracted, unstable, words he had used to break me before. But this wasn't about words. This was about Noah. You're framing me, I said, backing away as anger and disbelief crashed through me. You're trying to set me up. Amber smirked. We just need proof that your life is messy. I stared at her, my heart splintering. This is my home, Amber. I trusted you. I let you watch Noah. I let you in my life. She shrugged. Relax. It's not personal. Yes, Dylan muttered. It is. I turned to him sharply. His eyes were cold. Hard, unfamiliar. You told them my schedule, didn't you? I whispered in horror. You told them I'd be at Noah's Christmas event tonight. He didn't deny it. He didn't even look ashamed. You should have married me, he said quietly, bitterness dripping from every word. You said no. You said you weren't ready, but you were ready for a divorce, for a new life without me. I stared at him in disbelief. You're doing all of this because I didn't say yes to a proposal. Dylan's jaw tightened. You take things for granted, Elena. You push people away. You betrayed me, I yelled. All of you, you're trying to take my son. At least now you're paying attention, he said darkly. My stomach churned. Before I could speak, someone stepped into the doorway behind me. I gasped and spun around. It was Mr. Grayson my elderly neighbor, the man who had called me. His chest heaved from the effort of walking. His cane trembled in his hand. But his eyes sharp steel. Blue were locked on the three intruders. I told her to come home, he said firmly, voice echoing through the room. I wasn't going to let you animals get away with this. Mark glared. Why did you get involved, old man? This is family business. No, Mr. Grayson snapped. This is criminal. He lifted his phone and pressed play. Their voices filled the room, recorded perfectly, clearly. Mark's voice, will claim she's unstable, that she can't manage Noah alone. Amber's laugh, she's too trusting. She won't even see it coming. Dylan's low growl, just find the damn documents. The faster we get custody, the faster we get the money. Money. I turned stiffly toward them. What money? I whispered. Amber's face drained of color. Mark stepped backward. Dylan swore under his breath. Mr. Grayson looked at me, sympathy softening his features. They weren't searching for bills or messy rooms, dear. They were searching for the inheritance documents Mark's father left behind. The room went silent. Mark exploded. Shut up. This is none of your documents. Mr. Grayson continued calmly. That state Noah receives a very large inheritance, but only under his father's guardianship. My blood turned to ice. Amber's eyes flickered with greed. Dylan looked away. Mark clenched his fists. You are going to take him from me, I whispered, shaking violently. You are going to steal Noah for money. Mark's face contorted. He's my son. He deserves to grow up as a Reynolds man under male influence. It was my father's wish. No, I said, voice rising with grief, fury, and something deeper. Something primal. Your father's wish wasn't for you to weaponize Noah. It wasn't to rip him from his mother's arms. Amber folded her arms. Well, believe what you want, but we were just helping Mark secure Noah's future, and ours, your future. I spat. You are all going to profit from this. Dylan stepped forward, his voice low. It didn't have to be like this. Mr. Grayson raised his cane as if shielding me. Don't you take another step. I've already called the police. That was when everything erupted. Mark lunged at Mr. Grayson. Amber screamed. Dylan grabbed the folder of inheritance papers, desperate to hide them. But I moved first. With a strength I didn't know I had, I snatched the folder from Dylan's hands, clutching it to my chest like it was Noah himself. Mark froze when he saw it in my grip. Elena, he said softly, too softly, hand that over. I shook my head. No, I whispered, not this time, not ever again. Sirens wailed in the distance. Amber panicked. We have to go, but it was too late. Blue and red lights flashed through the front windows. And as officers stormed into my home, shouting orders, grabbing wrists, demanding explanations, I finally understood the magnitude of what had been happening behind my back. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just hurt feelings or broken trust. This was a *** premeditated conspiracy ***. A coordinated attack on my life as a mother. A plan to steal my son in the most cruel, calculated way possible. And as Mark, Amber, and Dylan were forced to the ground, their lies unraveling, their desperation laid bare, I realized I wasn't just fighting to survive the night. I was fighting for Noah, for his home, for our life, for the truth, and this was only the beginning. The police officers' voices blurred into distant echoes as they handcuffed Mark, Amber, and Dylan one by one. Questions were asked, warnings were shouted, rights were read, but none of it felt real. I stood in the center of my torn, apart living room, clutching that old inheritance folder so tightly my knuckles turned white. It felt warm against my chest, as if it held Noah's heartbeat, or maybe mine. Mr. Grayson hovered nearby, breathing heavily but trying to appear strong. His presence anchored me to the ground. Without him, I wasn't sure if I would have collapsed. As the officers led the 3 conspirators outside, the winter air rushing in through the open door created a freezing draft. Christmas lights around the window swayed, flickering against the cold wind, a sad, eerie glow in the chaos. It wasn't until the front door closed, muting the officers' voices outside, that silence finally settled. A heavy, suffocating silence. I stared at the folder in my hands, blinking back tears that refused to fall. "Sit down, dear," Mr. Grayson said gently. I obeyed without protest, sinking onto the sofa, the only piece of furniture that wasn't destroyed or overturned. My legs trembled uncontrollably. "You're safe now," he whispered, "but you need to understand what this is all about." I opened the folder with shaking fingers. Inside were pages yellowed with age, brittle around the edges. *** Reynolds Family Trust, 1984. *** Confidential ***. I skimmed the pages, reading words that didn't seem to belong to my life. Male heirs shall inherit the bulk of assets until their 18th year. Legal guardian must be a male descendant of Reynolds' bloodline. Transition of funds may be denied if heir remains in maternal custody. My heart twisted painfully. "Noah," I whispered. Mr. Grayson nodded. That's why they were here. This wasn't about custody for the sake of the boy. It was about money, legacy, control. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Mark couldn't stand losing control, losing me, losing Noah, but this is monstrous. Money does strange things to people, Mr. Grayson said quietly. I closed the folder and pressed it against my forehead, trying to breathe. How did they expect to get away with this? I asked. "You heard the recordings," he said. Amber was after a cut. Dylan had his own motives, and men like Mark believe the world revolves around them, that they're entitled to everything they've ever lost. I swallowed hard. Mark had always been proud, always obsessed with appearances and power. But I never imagined he could weaponize Noah's future like this. The door opened again, and a police officer stepped inside. "Ma'am, we'll need a statement," he said gently. "And the evidence, the recordings, the documents will need to be sealed for now." I nodded, numb. Of course. Hours passed in a blur as I repeated the story over and over. How I got the call, what I found, what each of them said, how the documents were discovered. My voice grew hoarse, my eyes stung, and my body felt heavier with each retelling. By the time the last officer left, it was past midnight. I walked Mr. Grayson to the door, the cold air biting at my cheeks. Snow had begun to fall, soft and silent. "You saved us," I whispered. "I don't know how to thank you." He smiled, a tired, gentle smile. "I simply did what any decent neighbor should, but make no mistake, Elena, this isn't over. Men like your ex don't admit defeat easily. A shiver crawled up my spine. "Be strong," he continued, "for Noah, for yourself." I hugged him, tears finally breaking free. "Thank you for everything." When he left, I stood alone in the doorway, the snow collecting on the porch, the lights from the police cars fading into the night. The next morning, I returned to the school to pick up Noah. He ran into my arms, wrapping his little legs around me. His warmth melted something inside me that had frozen overnight. "Mom, you missed the last part of the party," he pouted. "But it's okay. I saved you a candy cane." I smiled, burying my face in his hair. "Thank you, sweetheart." He couldn't know. Not yet, not until I found the right words, not until I made sure he was safe. As we drove home, Noah hummed Christmas songs, swinging his legs. My heart felt both full and unbearably heavy. A mother should never have to hide nightmares from her child. But protecting him meant shielding him, for now. The following weeks were a whirlwind. Lawyers, court filings, restraining orders, phone calls that made my stomach twist, threatening letters from Mark's family demanding I respect the Reynolds legacy, whispers spreading in the community, Amber's social media posts claiming I had manipulated the situation, Dylan trying to contact me from a restricted number until the police intervened. I learned that betrayal doesn't end the moment it's exposed. It festers, it infects, it tries to claw its way back into your life. But every time my resolve wavered, I looked at Noah. His innocence, his joy, the trust in his little eyes. And I fought harder. 3 weeks after the break-in, my lawyer called. "Elena," she said, "we've found something." My breath hitched. "What is it?" She cleared her throat. "Your ex-husband wasn't only after the inheritance. There's more." I felt my stomach drop. What more could there be? Before his father passed. She said softly, "Mark borrowed against the trust fund illegally. Large sums. If Noah remained under your custody, those withdrawals would be investigated. If Mark gained custody, he could cover it up. If not, he's facing potential prison time." Everything inside me went still. He risked Noah's future to hide his crimes. Yes, a cold, sharp pain stabbed my chest. All those years, all the lies, all the manipulation, they weren't just emotional or psychological. They were financial. Criminal, calculated. My whole marriage had been a facade built on secrets and borrowed money. The truth didn't just shatter. It pulverized everything I thought I knew. "What do we do?" I whispered. "We expose him," she said firmly. "We expose all of them." I closed my eyes. This wasn't just a custody battle anymore. It was survival. It was justice. It was war. And for the first time since that terrible night, a strange, fierce strength rose in my chest. They had betrayed me. They had tried to rip my son from me. They had turned my life upside down. But now it was my turn. The day of the court hearing arrived like a storm cloud, heavy, freezing, and impossible to ignore. I stood outside the courthouse, clutching the edges of my coat, watching my breath fog in the air. Winter had fully settled over Willow Creek, blanketing the town in white, but nothing could soften the harshness of today. Not the lights strung across the street lamps, not the distant sound of carolers, not even the way the courthouse wreath glimmered with frost. But inside me, something had changed. For weeks I had lived in shadows, legal documents, restraining orders, threats disguised as polite letters, lawyers talking in circles, secrets unraveling faster than I could process. But now I wasn't afraid. Because I finally understood something fundamental. Asterisk, asterisk, they had underestimated me. Asterisk, asterisk, they thought breaking into my house, staging lies, and manipulating my life would break me. They thought a mother's heart was fragile, but they didn't understand a mother's love is armor. A mother's fear is fire. A mother's resolve is unbreakable. I took Noah's hand gently. He looked up at me with curious brown eyes. "Mom, why do we have to be here?" I crouched down and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. "Sometimes," I whispered, "grown-ups have to work things out, and Mommy needs to make sure everything is safe for us." He nodded, trusting me completely. The weight of that trust anchored me like steel. My lawyer, MS, Alden Sharp, confident and far calmer than I felt, approached with a reassuring nod. "You ready, Elena?" I inhaled deeply. "I am now." We walked inside. The courtroom was cold, almost hostile, its walls a dull gray that absorbed every echo. Rows of benches lined each side, most empty except for a few curious locals and 2 reporters who had sniffed out a juicy custody scandal. At the front, Mark sat next to his attorney, his jaw tight, his eyes dark with anger or desperation. I couldn't tell which. Amber was there too, dressed in modest clothes that didn't suit her at all, her lipstick toned down to look respectable. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Dylan wasn't present. He had already taken a plea deal for breaking and entering, desperate to reduce charges and distance himself from Mark. The coward had folded the moment jail time became a possibility, but Mark still fought, always fighting, always pushing, always convinced he was entitled to everything. When he saw me enter, he straightened in his seat, his eyes burning into mine as if daring me to falter. But I didn't, not this time. I walked taller. Asterisk, he took so much from me, but confidence, strength, clarity. Asterisk, those were mine now. The judge entered, stern and composed. Everyone rose, then sat. Mark's attorney went first. He painted a picture, a dramatic, twisted portrait of a fragile mother on the edge. According to him, I was emotional, overworked, overwhelmed, and unable to provide consistency. A heartbreaking victim of stress who just needed support, meaning Noah should live with Mark instead. While he spun his lies, Mark nodded solemnly, pretending to be the concerned parent he had never been. I felt heat rising in my chest, but remained silent, because my turn was coming, and I wasn't coming alone. When they finally finished their speech, the judge nodded at MS. "Alden, your response." My lawyer stood with calm, sharp precision. "Your Honor, the situation is not at all what has been presented. What we have here is not a case of parental concern, but a calculated attempt at fraud, coercion, and manipulation." Mark shifted uneasily. MS. Alden continued, "We have evidence showing a coordinated conspiracy by Mr. Reynolds, MS., Amber Clark, and Mr. Dylan Carter to stage a mess, Elena Torres as an unfit mother in order to obtain custody of her son, not for the child's benefit, but to access a significant inheritance tied to paternal guardianship." A murmur spread across the courtroom. Mark's face streaked with sudden panic. His attorney stood. Objection. Overruled. The judge said, voice firm. MS. Alden opened a folder. "We present the court with recorded audio taken by neighbor and witness Mr. Henry Grayson, who observed the defendants breaking into MS. Torres' home while she attended a school event. The audio began to play, every word, every threat, every admission. Mark's voice echoed through the courtroom. Asterisk. We'll claim she's unstable. Asterisk, asterisk. The faster we get custody, the faster we get the money. Asterisk, asterisk. Just find the documents. Asterisk, Amber's laughter. Dylan's bitterness, Mark's entitlement. The courtroom froze. The judge's expression hardened like stone. Then MS. Alden placed the inheritance documents on the desk. "These papers show that a large sum of money is accessible only if Noah lives with a male guardian. We also have evidence that Mr. Reynolds illegally borrowed against the trust and attempted to conceal his actions. Therefore, his motive was not the welfare of the child, but self-preservation." Gasps spread. Mark stood. "Those are lies. She forged." "Sit down, Mr. Reynolds," the judge commanded. His legs buckled as he dropped back into his seat. For the first time in all the years I'd known him, he looked afraid, and for the first time I felt powerful. The judge leaned forward. MS. Torres, please approach. My heart thrummed, but my steps were steady. The judge studied me, her eyes neither soft nor harsh, but discerning. MS. Torres, you've endured significant emotional harm, betrayal, and an attempt to steal your child from you. Yet you appear poised, thoughtful, and deeply committed to your son. Tears burned behind my eyes. The judge turned to Mark. Mr. Reynolds, your actions reveal profound manipulation, criminal intent, and emotional abuse. This court will not reward such behavior. Silence. Then, ***, a full custody is granted to the mother, MS Elena Torres, effective immediately. Mr. Reynolds' parental rights are suspended pending further investigation into financial misconduct and conspiracy. ***, everything inside me broke. Relief, grief, victory, exhaustion blending into a silent sob. I didn't let out until I sat back beside Noah. He squeezed my hand. Mom, is everything okay? I hugged him. Everything is perfect now. Amber was charged with conspiracy and breaking and entering. Dylan's plea deal left him with probation, but his career and reputation crumbled overnight. Mark faced multiple charges and an avalanche of lawsuits tied to the trust mismanagement. He didn't just lose the custody battle. He lost the image he had spent years crafting. He lost the control he worshipped. He lost the power he craved. And I finally understood the sweetest truth. ***, revenge doesn't always come from anger. Sometimes it comes from justice, from truth, from living a life they tried to destroy stronger and brighter than ever. ***, a year later, Christmas returned, gentler this time. The house glowed with soft lights. A fire crackled in the fireplace. The scent of cinnamon filled the air. Noah ran toward me holding a small wrapped box. Mom, open it. I made it in art class. I smiled and unwrapped it. Inside was a hand-painted ceramic ornament shaped like a shield, painted in blue and gold. Childish letters spelled, ***, my hero, Mom. ***, my throat tightened as tears slid down my cheeks. I lifted Noah into my arms and kissed the top of his head. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. He giggled. Best Christmas ever, and for the first time in a long, long time I believed it, because this Christmas wasn't about fear or betrayal or loss. It was about peace, healing, a home rebuilt, a son safe, a mother victorious, and the sweetest revenge of all. Knowing that love, real, protective, fierce love, wins in the end, always.